It is not the origins of poverty which need to be explained. What requires explaining are the things that created and sustained higher standards of living. What do you mean by that?
Well, there are actually books with titles and subtitles about the origins of poverty. Well, the entire human species began in poverty. So I don't know how we're going to say, what is the origin of this, perhaps in the Garden of Eden or someplace.
Poverty
But more than
yeah,
that,
okay.
more than that, you're trying to explain why some countries are poor, rather than trying to explain why other countries are more prosperous. There's no explanation needed for poverty. The species began in poverty. So what you really need to know is what are the things that enable some countries and some groups within countries to become prosperous.
Okay. Further, continuing that point, I just want to dig out this sort of big overriding theme. Again, I'm quoting Wealth, Poverty, and Politics. Quote, one of the key implicit assumptions of our time is that many economic and social outcomes would tend to be either even or random. Everybody would finish up in the same place if left to the natural course of events, so that the strikingly uneven and non-random, rich people, rich countries, poor country, the strikingly uneven and non-random outcomes so often observed in the real world imply some adverse human intervention. Close quote. Why has that become an implicit assumption? So common that you need to bat it down again and again in this book.
Well, why is that something you have to ask the people who believe that? But if you're asking, does it have any validity? The easy answer is no. That if you start just with geographic things, geography is not even. The rivers of the world are not equally usable by human beings. I'll give you one example. The Zaire River, which starts in Central Africa and goes great distances to the ocean, it has more water than the Mississippi. But it's not as valuable as the Mississippi because it has all sorts of waterfalls, cascades, and so on. So there's only a certain distance you can go on the Zaire River. I mean, it's a more picturesque river, but to an economist, it's awful because it means that you've isolated great numbers of people. In a period of about 150 miles, there are, I forget, some huge number of cascades and waterfalls, adding up to a drop of about 1,000 feet. On the Mississippi, the riverbed goes down 4 inches per mile. Those are different rivers,
Right.
but everything is different. The ground is different, the air is different, everything.
Okay. Again, I'm quoting, continuing on this theme, the implicit assumption of evenness or randomness of outcomes in the absence of human interventions has been enough to turn a search for causation into a search for blame. Where do you find that?
Well, if all the background conditions are such as would lead to equality of outcomes,
Right.
and you find great inequalities, then somebody must have messed with it.
Right.
But as economic historian David Landy said, the world has never been a level playing field. It's not a level playing field geographically, culturally, politically, you name it, it's not.